Good morning, everyone. My name is Christina Ressler with the State of Michigan WIC office. I am the new System Requirement Coordinator working under the direction of Dr. Cobra Ektadary with the Data and System Management section here at the State WIC office. Today I am here with Kevin Sarb and Bhagya Kordur to give a brief presentation on the changes that will be coming with the WIC Release 7.8 on the evening of February the 14th. We hope that these enhancements and changes will help make things easier and address some items that have come up. To summarize the changes and enhancements we will be discussing today, I will be going over updates on the daily schedule screen, printing growth charts to PDF, and income guideline changes. Next, Kevin will explain the updated risk codes from the USDA, along with features and changes in the benefit screens. Then, Bhagya will review changes to the equipment inventory process, updates in the race and ethnicity data collection, and updates to the role review and user access request screen. Finally, we'll go over some important dates and times to remember, and then give you an opportunity to ask any questions you may have. Starting with the changes to the daily schedule, the current daily schedule features in MyWIC do not easily accommodate clinics with a large number of scheduled staff columns. To help improve navigation of the screen, we have introduced a few new features. A time column has been added to the far right-hand side of the screen that will display only if the entire schedule does not fit on the screen. The column sizes will be slightly smaller by default to allow more columns to be displayed on the screen at once. Auto scroll has been added to automatically scroll to the current time of day, and the day of the week will now be displayed next to the date. As you can see here, the day of the week is now listed next to the date at the top of the screen for easier reference. This text will display once you click off of the date selection field. I would also like you to make note that the horizontal scroll bar is an important indicator, as this signifies that when you scroll to the right, an additional time column will be visible on the far right-hand side of the screen. This time column will only appear when there is a horizontal scroll bar and will always align with the traditional time column on the left-hand side of the screen. This will help facilitate easier use of the daily schedule and always allows a time column to be visible. Additionally, to improve functionality of this screen, the column sizes are now dependent on the column titles. When the words are separated by spaces, the text will wrap, as in the new babies column displayed here. When there are no spaces, the text will show as one consecutive line, as in www.wichealth.org. This feature will allow you to customize the column sizes dependent on your clinic and agency needs. You will not be able to drag the column to enlarge it on the daily schedule, so if you do need to view more of the client name, you can hover your cursor over the appointment time slot and the full name and appointment type will display without having to click on any additional screens. The auto scroll feature has been added to this screen. This will adjust the screen based on the current time of day, while still allowing you to freely scroll through the entire daily schedule at any time. There also are new changes associated with scheduling walk-in appointments. Currently, when a client comes to the clinic for a walk-in appointment, the appointment must first be scheduled and then subsequently marked as attended on the daily schedule appointment summary screen. This enhancement will create an additional column in the appointment grid titled Attended. This checkbox can be selected while scheduling a walk-in appointment to improve efficiency. You will want to make note that this checkbox will appear at all times on this screen, but will only be active if the appointment is on the current day. On the Schedule Appointment screen, you will be able to view the Attended checkbox next to the client name at the top of the screen. If you wish to mark a client as attended when scheduling the appointment, you will select the appointment time and then check the Attended checkbox before selecting Create Appointment. After successfully creating the appointment, the client will be marked as attended without additionally navigating to the summary screen on the daily schedule. This feature will work for all appointment types, including CERT, ReCERT, and EDU. The next enhancement I'm going to talk about is printing growth charts to PDF. As the result of a recent change in Microsoft security, when attempting to print the growth charts in Internet Explorer, users may receive a blank page or 404 error message. This enhancement will now print the growth chart directly to PDF and allow you to save or print the document as needed. The growth chart screen will display in MyWIC as normal. You will notice that the key has been relocated to the bottom edge of the graph. This is to prevent the key from obscuring the display of any of the potential data points. When you select the print option, instead of taking you to the print queue, you'll be navigated to the PDF file. Once the PDF file displays, you'll be able to print or save the file as needed. This will prevent any errors associated with printing in the internet browser. Now I would like to go over changes to expect associated with income guidelines. The first of which is dynamic income calculations. What that means is that if a client has multiple incomes, all at the same interval, MyWIC calculations will change to show total and maximum income values based on that interval. This calculation is shown after selecting Show Income Eligibility or Save. But if a client has more than one income at different intervals, annual and maximum annual income will display as before. To help clarify, as you can see here, both incomes have been entered at the monthly interval. Therefore, after selecting Save or Show Income Eligibility, MyWIC will display total monthly income and max monthly income. But if all income sources are not at the same interval, as shown here, MyWIC will continue to show total annual income and max annual income. This is the same as it is currently displaying in MyWIC. Finally, I want to review changes to the income guidelines table. First, you will notice that some of the punctuation associated with the column labels have changed. This is to make the tables more consistent throughout the screens and modules within MyWIC. Next, the twice monthly income interval is being changed to semi-monthly. For this calculation, MyWIC will discontinue the previous calculation of monthly income divided by 2 and instead use the pre-populated values from the income levels table determined by 185% of current federal poverty levels. Now I will transition over to Kevin and allow him to talk to you about risk code revisions and benefit screen changes.
Thank you, Christina. That was wonderful. The first topic I would like to present is the nutrition risk code revisions and additions that will be coming up with the next release. USDA classifies medical and food consumption risks that may have nutritional implications into the following categories. Anthropometric is in the 100 series, biochemical is in the 200 series, clinical 300 series, nutrition 400 series, and other risks are classified from 500 to 900. USDA has revised the 142 prematurity risk code. In addition to classifying preterm as delivery of an infant born less than 37 weeks gestation, they have added the early term delivery concept and defined it as delivery of an infant born greater than or equal to 37 weeks and less than 39 weeks gestation. These risks can be assigned to infants and children less than 24 months of age. Preterm delivery continues to assign the high-risk classification, whereas early term will not. Preterm delivery prematurity affects about 12% of all live births in the U.S. babies that are born too early may have a number of health conditions. For early-term delivery, up to 10% of babies in the United States are scheduled for early-term deliveries. There is a significant amount of development and growth which occurs between 37 and 39 weeks of gestation. So that is why they've added this classification. USDA has also updated the risk for history of preterm delivery. USDA includes pregnant and postpartum women into one risk code of 311. In order to utilize my WIC to assign these risks, Michigan has broken these two categories into two separate risk codes of 310 and 311. For pregnant women, history of preterm delivery continues to be defined as an infant born less than 37 weeks, and has added the history of early-term delivery as delivery of an infant greater than or equal to 37 and less than 39 weeks. History of preterm delivery continues to be considered high risk, but early term is not. Question 6 on the pregnancy tab of the medical assessment has been revised so that the risk could be assigned if confirmed during the assessment process. As a reminder, screen 2 is for pregnant clients only. For postpartum women, history of preterm delivery continues to be defined the same, and with the early term delivery added. History of preterm delivery continues to be considered high risk, but early term is not. Question 7 on the postpartum tab of the medical assessment has been revised so that the risk could be assigned if confirmed during the assessment process. As a reminder, screen 3 is for postpartum clients only. Neonatal abstinence syndrome, or NAS, is a drug withdrawal syndrome that occurs among drug-exposed infants, and these are primarily opioid-exposed infants as a result of the mother's use of drugs during pregnancy. NAS is a combination of physiologic and neurologic symptoms that can be identified immediately after birth and can last up to 6 months after birth. This condition is considered high risk and must be present within the first 6 months of birth and diagnosed, documented, or reported by a physician or someone working under a physician orders, or as self-reported by the infant's caregiver. When the condition is confirmed during the assessment, it can be checked on the medical information screen. Risk 411, inappropriate nutrition practices for infants, has 11 subgroups. Risk 41105, feeding foods to an infant that could be contaminated with harmful microorganisms or toxins, has been revised. Donor human milk acquired directly from individuals or the internet has been added, and raw tofu has been deleted. Donor human milk acquired directly from individuals or the internet has been also added to risk 41109, routinely using inappropriate sanitation, the feeding, preparation, handling, and or storage of expressed human milk or formula. Both 41105 and 41109 will be a system assigned when donor human milk checkbox is checked under question 16 of the nutrition history screens. For risk 42505, feeding foods to a child that could be contaminated with harmful microorganisms, has been revised. Tofu was deleted in 2009 based on the updated American Academy of Pediatrics recommendation. However, when this criterion was reprinted and distributed in 2011, tofu was mistakenly reinserted into the list of foods in section 42505. To reflect this, raw tofu has been deleted from the nutrition history screens for infants noted previously, for children, and for women, which will be noted on the next slide. So as just mentioned, raw tofu has been deleted from the nutrition history screen and is no longer considered for risk 42705, pregnant women ingesting foods that could be contaminated with pathogenic microorganisms. Next, I would like to address the benefit screen changes that will be occurring with the next release. The expired column has been will be removed from the grid on the benefit inquiry screen, as the expired benefits are currently not displayed in the grid anyways. On the benefits history screen, client information will be added so that one can tell to which client the food package belongs. On the benefits void screen will now show to which client the food package belongs. Redeemed and voided columns will be added to the grid. A collapsible history by benefit issuance number showing voided history for each benefit issuance number will also be added. Also on the benefits void screen, you will now be able to tell which client the food package belongs. Both redeemed and voided columns have been added to the grid. The ability to collapse history by benefit issuance number to focus on which client benefits are to be voided. The issue benefits screen will show the active food package as of the benefit start date in the selected month and year. Benefits will be issued based on the food package in the grid. As a result, benefits will not be able to be voided and reissued on or shortly after their first birthday in order to provide the C1 Max Whole Milk package prior to their next benefit start date. A e-notice on this topic, 2018-23, was sent out yesterday, so please refer to that e-notice for further information on this important change to the issued benefit screen. Next, I would like to pass the baton on to Bhagya Kodur to address other enhancements with the next release. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Kevin, and thank you, Christina, for such a wonderful explanation of the upcoming changes in Release 7.8. I will go over the equipment inventory, race and ethnicity, and the security enhancements that are upcoming in the release. And for the equipment inventory, we have always in the past, as part of the USDA requirement, the annual equipment inventory has been conducted for the past few years, and during that survey, the information has been collected or requested on an Excel sheet from the local agencies. In order to make the process seamless and efficient, it is being moved into MyWIC. This will allow the local agencies to enter inventory directly into MyWIC and on an ongoing basis when there are any changes to their equipment inventory. At the time of annual review, the coordinator will then be able to review the data and mark the survey as complete, which will shorten the amount of time that the staff would spend on entering the information on an Excel sheet. So as you can see on the screen, the LA equipment inventory screen will be accessed on the admin module under the agency and clinic setup, Jelly Bean. Important information such as primary usage, equipment type, brand, and model, and purchased with WIC funds are required fields, and these required fields are drop-down values which will be maintained in the database. By default, only the most recent equipment inventory is displayed on the screen, but checking the Show All box at the top right corner of the screen will display all the equipment which can be active, disposed, and damaged. So for primary usage, which is a required field, the choices available in the drop-down are if the equipment is WIC exclusive or if it is shared with other programs. And for the equipment type, the different choices in the drop-down would be if it's a computer, a laptop, or a signature pad, EBT card scanner, printer, etc. And the model of the brand will help us identify situations of compatibility, if there are any situations that arise with compatibility of the equipment with MyWIC. And if the funds have been purchased with WIC funds or no, and the date purchased, and the equipment status, which tells us if the equipment is in use, if it's active, disposed, or damaged. And at the bottom of the screen, there is a field which lets the user know when the equipment inventory was last reviewed by and the last review date. The other buttons on this screen are the Add button, which allows the user to add a new row to the grid, and the Review button, which captures the Remove button, which allows removing the row only on the day it was added, and the Review button captures the coordinator, the user ID of the coordinator that reviewed the data. The optional fields on the screen are date of disposal, equipment cost, processor speed, and computer memory. On the screen, active equipment is displayed by default, and as we talked earlier, checking the Show All box displays the equipment, all the equipment inventory for that particular clinic. There are a couple reports that have been added to help with this process of equipment inventory survey. The first report is the equipment inventory review, and this report provides the ability to choose the clinic and the review complete parameter, which allows to select either all, yes or no. And when the report prints out, you can see it will print a list of agencies, or it will print a list of clinics and if the review has been completed for them or not. So this is a summary level report. The next report is the WIC Equipment Inventory Details report, and this will allow the user the ability to choose a particular clinic to run the report for, and to choose a year, which will help the user go back and review older equipment inventory if necessary, or choose the details for the current year. Next, we move on to the race ethnicity changes, and per USDA and OMB requirements, Arabic is not a recognized ethnicity for data collection. Hence, the change was made to remove reference to Arabic on all screens in MyWIC. Instead, this population will now be captured as a subcategory of white. So on the screen, on the main changes you will see are on the additional information screen or tab in the client information screen and on the predefined reports screen. So on this screen, you will note that the question, which was, is the client Arabic, has been removed. And under the race, there are 3 subcategories that have been added to white. And so we will still be able to capture the Arabic population under Middle Eastern, under the white Middle Eastern subcategory under white race. So checking off either of any of the subcategories under white would by default add a checkbox next to the white race. Clicking on the information, the eye icon next to the race will provide more information about each race. There are situations in the clinic where the user or the staff member selects the race or ethnicity for the client coming in. Previously, this was it was more of an information that was provided to the client, letting them know that the race and ethnicity is being selected by the staff. But there is a checkbox that has been added at the bottom of the screen, which will, using which we will be able to capture clients for whom the race ethnicity has been captured by a staff due to staff perception. The help document will be updated to reflect the new changes in race, and this is a screenshot where it describes in detail all the racial categories, similar to what you will see when you hover on the click on the information icon on the additional info on the race ethnicity screen. Next, we will look at the changes to the predefined report screens. References to Arabic will be removed from the predefined reports screens as well, and in any of the production reports. On this screen, you will notice that previously there used to be ethnicity for Arabic, and that choice is no longer available for selection in the minor characteristics. And the subcategories have been added, similar to what we saw on the race ethnicity screen here as well. And the ethnicity for Arabic has been removed on the screen. So if the user has selected, in order to run report on the screen, if the user clicks on any of the checkboxes, the report will return the clients that have chosen those options on the race ethnicity screen. Moving on to the changes in the report, on the racial ethnic enrollment by category, you will note that the Arabic column, which used to be next to the Hispanic or Latino column, has been removed. And clients that select more than one race will be grouped under the other category. And all the clients that selected any subcategory under white will fall under white. In order to get more detailed reports, you can request an ad hoc report or run the reports using the predefined screens. The other report that you will see a change in is the participation by category and race. And similar to the previous report, here you will notice that the Arabic column has been removed, and any clients that chose more than one race will be added grouped under the other column. One other report where this change will be seen is the certification information screen, where the Arabic will be removed. Next, we move on to security enhancements, and the changes in this CRD are mainly to improve efficiency in tasks related to user access request and role monitor review. The goal of these changes was to make the screens more user-friendly while making the process seamless. When a coordinator logs into their agency, and select the user access request screen in the user setup, they will see all the user access requests that have been made to their agency. Previously, the coordinator would be able to see only users that have chosen them as a supervisor. We have increasingly seen that there are more than one supervisor in some local agencies, and it becomes a little bit of a confusion in terms of who has selected, which user has selected whom as a supervisor. So the change to this screen was here on all the user access requests, irrespective of the supervisor, will be displayed on the screen. And as you can see, only the user that has chosen one particular user as a supervisor. So for example, if the user on the bottom of this screen is test F1234, so only the rows where test F1234 has been chosen as a supervisor will be able to edit only those rows and approve those users for user access requests. And for state level, the supervisors will be able to view and work with only staff members who have chosen them as supervisors. On the role monitor review screen, some changes have been made to make the screen more user-friendly. And there is a clinic ID that has been added or prefixed to the clinic column, and the module column has been added, which will now tell the roles have been assigned in which module. And a role expiration date has been added, which will allow the reviewer to see when the role would expire. When the supervisor logs in, when the supervisor logs into the admin module in MyWIC, they should be able to view this screen under the user setup screen. The role extension select all is a checkbox to be used only if there are no changes being requested to the roles of the user. If there are any changes to this user's roles, please select the role request checkboxes individually. And the supervisor review is required for all the rows in order to be able to save the screen. And the supervisor review all checkbox will indicate that the roles have been reviewed for that staff member. Once the supervisor completes their review, the system admin must complete their review for the roles to be extended for that particular staff member. For roles that have been assigned between October 1st and July 31st, October 1st of the previous fiscal year and July 31st of the following year, the expiration date will be set to September 30th of the current year. So as you can see in the example, for example, roles assigned on February 1st, the role expiration date will be set to September 30th. and these roles will need to be reviewed for the current fiscal year. But any roles assigned between August 1st and September 30th of the current fiscal year, the expiration date will be set to September 30th of the next fiscal year. And these roles need not be reviewed for the current fiscal year. The reason this change was made was usually the role review notices go out to the agencies in the month of August. So giving them about 1 month for review and then another month for the system admin to complete their review. So all the users would have been reviewed in that 2-month period, and any new roles that were assigned would be extended to the next fiscal year. And that's the reason that any roles that have been assigned for between August 1st and September 30th of the current fiscal year, the expiration date will be set to the following fiscal year. A few reports that have been modified or added to for the role review process are the role review summary report, which will allow the user to run reports by selecting several filters individually. For the report can be run by local agency, clinic, and by selecting an individual staff member, or for staff roles that have been reviewed for the current fiscal year. And the review status and the choices for the review status are if they have been reviewed, if the roles have been reviewed by the coordinator, or if they have been reviewed by the system admin, and show all. On this report, you will note that the clinic ID has been added as a prefix to the local agency and to the clinic, and the role expiration column has been added, which will tell when the role for the user would expire. And the coordinator last review date is another column that has been added to this report to make this report more user-friendly. Coming on, there are system-generated emails that will be sent out. We already have most of these emails in place already, but we thought that there was a little more detail needed in the emails that went out, and hence the change was made. So to the user access request emails that will be received, they will now include more details such as the user ID, the local agency that was selected, and the supervisor that was selected in the request. And for role requests for role conflicts, you will notice that the user ID and the clinic ID and the roles which are causing the conflict will be clearly listed as well. And for role expiration, reminders will be sent out from 7 days prior to role expiration to the user whose roles are expiring. And they will keep coming till the user's roles have been reviewed by their supervisor and extended as necessary. So this is a sample of an email which shows the new user access request for a user signing up. And you can see that more information such as their phone number to contact them in case of any issue, their agency which they have selected, and the supervisor who they have selected will be displayed on the screen in the email. And then this is a role conflict email where you can see that if there is any conflict, the role which has the conflict and then the clinic for which the conflict occurred is also clearly listed. This concludes our changes and enhancements to the upcoming release. And moving along, we have some dates and times for you to remember. The first date or major date to remember is Wednesday, February 14th, which is the day of release 7.8. And we kindly request all the clinics to stop using MyWIC by 5 p.m. And this, in case you are, we know the schedules have already been set for Feb 14th. So if we kindly request you to stop using MyWIC as soon as possible, this will help us get the changes deployed into MyWIC and allow for detailed post-production testing. You should be able to see the new release in your clinics on February 15th. The 2018 release schedule is out. So there are 2 more releases in this year other than the 7.8. So the 7.9 release has been scheduled for Wednesday, June 20th, and the release 8.0 will be on Wednesday, October 17th. Please adjust your clinic schedules for these releases, noting that on Wednesday, the staff must stop using MyWIC by 5 p.m. And please, you are encouraged to schedule light on the Thursday after the release to address any unforeseen changes that may arise. Thank you all for taking your time to be able to view the webcast, and we will now take a 10-minute break, and in the meantime take questions you might have.
Hi, this is Kevin. I received a few questions that I would like to address. One question was on the checkbox for donor human milk. The question was, does this question appear if category is IFF or only IBP, IBE? Well, I don't think we could be that talented to make that. All screens, the nutrition history screens for infant category are the same. And so technically, if during an assessment you find out that the mother is using donor milk, that would check that box, and the risk would assign. As you all know, an IBP can receive an IFF package, and so it just depends on whether they would even admit to using donor human milk. But if you use your best judgment if you're going to ask every IFF infant that question. So yeah, if the box is checked, it would go for every infant category. And then we received a question from a coordinator, just wondering if in the next releases we can expect to see revision to the NSP outreach module screens in the admin module. Currently, it's impossible to capture the activities completed relative to the specific goals in that screen, so that we have to document the activities in the notes as to what was actually completed and where. Well, as most releases occur, we try to incorporate priorities, and we welcome suggestions for enhancements. And in my short time at WIC, I think we've accomplished a lot of enhancements with the next release, and so our focus will be to try to improve your lives as much as possible, and we can put this on our list, and I know it's always been the intent to improve these screens, and so we will hopefully be able to focus on that in the next few releases. Thank you. Next, I'm going to turn it over to Bhagya for a few questions she received.
Hello. One of the So one of the questions I've received is what's the difference between the CPA role in the admin section and the CPA role in clinic section. So the clinic section CPA role will allow the CPA to carry on. It has all the roles, all the permissions required to complete a certification except the updating the income screen. And so the next part of the question is if they have to do a temporary change for a CPA to a clerk, if they have to do anything with the admin role itself. So no, they will not need to make any changes. We just confirmed the roles for the admin module in the for the CPA, and they have very limited or no access to most of the screens and access to reports such as the local agency redemption report or the Project Fresh report. So if you're making a change to their roles on a temporary basis to a clerk, you will not have to make any changes to their roles in the admin module. Excuse me. So the other question I think which we received is, what do you select if the client identifies as white but none of the other subcategories? So the subcategories that were added under the white race have been taken from the OMB website, which is captured at the national level, and the clients will have to identify as one of those subcategories if they consider themselves as white. Thank you. I think that's all the questions we have, and thank you all very much for taking time off your busy schedules to be here and view the webcast. And if you have any further questions, please feel free to contact Christina, Kevin, or I, and the contact information is listed on the slides. Thank you.